Okay, we're recording a meeting now. It's the Community Preservation Committee meeting, and it's February 4th, 2025. And I'm Ann Mazar, the chair, and I represent the Land Use Committee. Mike Goddard?
I'm Mike Goddard, Select Board.
Mike Mandalia, Conservation Commission.
Kathy?
Sorry about that. Kathy Schofield, representing the Historic Commission.
And Dan?
Dan Byer, Parks Commission.
And Barry?
Barry Iderola, Planning Board.
Great. Did you have a chance to look over the minutes?
Yep.
Of
Yep.
the last meeting on January 7th. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, I guess we'll do a roll call vote. Mike Goddard?
Goddard, aye.
Mandalia, aye.
Kathy?
Schofield, aye.
Dan?
Dan, aye.
And Barry?
Going to abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay. And I, or Mazar, aye. Then the next item is just, we don't really have to discuss it, but there will be a public meeting on March 3rd, 2025 at 6:35 at the select board meeting, just to take suggestions for ideas of how we might want to use the CPA funds.
Question, you said March 3rd, that's a Monday?
Yeah, it's at the select board meeting, yeah.
Is that right? Are they
All
meeting
right,
on
that doesn't
Mondays?
sound right. I guess it's really
That's the
March
planning board
5th, isn't
meeting.
it?
Yeah.
March 5th. Okay. All right. And that's a Wednesday. And then, did you have a chance to look over this, the application form and the selection criteria for applying for CPA funds?
That'll look good. And I just had one question, and it's
Yep.
fine if it has to do with the I think you reference affordable housing or for with a focus on town residents or town employees, I think. And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if it's part of like the that 10% pool, recognized by the state. Can we actually, is that a general pool that could be open to anybody? Do we actually have the ability to limit who has access to that?
Yeah, no, we can't limit it, but I think what we can do is like put in like if someone from Mendon is applying, I think you can put in like two, when you're doing the lottery,
You can
they
weight
get
it
like
that way or something in the
yeah,
raffle?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I could change that to as
No, I
as
mean, I think that's the spirit of what you said. If we can actually do that, I just thought it was just a general raffle that was open.
yeah, let me just double check on that. If I mean, we could say something along the lines of gives priority as
As allowed?
yeah.
Well, if those are
Hmm?
if those are criteria, I might read that like if we had multiple proposals. I mean, I guess yeah, as allowed, but we might rank the proposal that has this particular attribute higher than another proposal that says, we'll let anybody live there. But yeah,
Mhm.
if we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, okay. I felt like some of it was repetitive, so that's why I crossed out some of the things.
No, that was good.
I was also wondering, like, on some situations where, somebody's writing a grant, like from the state, and they ask for so much information, if we should say that I mean, I guess if they wrote the grant, then they could fill in the things. I just don't want to make it an onerous application. I want to get the information. But, you know, if somebody did apply for a grant, they had to compile a lot of information already. So like I said, I just didn't want to make it too difficult for people, you know?
So so when I thought about the stuff about the grant, I thought it was more of a general saying that the general practice is to try to get matching grants and sort of did you? Sort of a
Yeah,
binary yes, no type of thing. And if they say yes, I take them on their word, right?
yeah. I mean, we would be able to ask more questions and everything.
Right.
And, you know, and when we got to a town meeting also, I think that they would talk about that. But I guess I was thinking maybe that if you did a grant application, that could be in lieu of the application, but then it might not have all the information that we want. I don't know, because usually, at least when I've done grants, they ask so many questions that probably everything on this application would have been answered, you know?
I actually thought that what you put there, what you laid out for an application is pretty simple. I don't think it's
Okay.
onerous.
Okay,
I like it. I think, you know, basic info, category, description, and then you're asking them to go, you know, justify how it meets these criteria, and then the finances, you know, and then it's up to them if they want to write a paragraph or 20 pages of explanation. But
I think somewhere,
if you
didn't I
wanted
say,
to, go ahead, sorry.
oh, I was gonna say, I think did I say somewhere, like no more than one page? I think,
it just says please attach sheet, but earlier, yeah, if more space is needed, please attach no more than one page.
okay, all right, yeah, because I don't want them,
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, we don't want to be reading 20 pages and then, you know, because we can always ask them more questions and ask for more information, but, okay. Any
You
other
want to have an
comments?
application like that trails thing that Isabella put together.
Yeah, oh, I know,
That was an unbelievable amount of work.
yeah. It's like a lot of the state grants, like the land grants like that. Still working on that one for the Denton property. All right, so it sounds like everyone's good with this. I don't know if this is something we need to vote on. Or can we just say,
Wouldn't hurt, right?
okay. Would someone like to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion to accept the form as it's written.
Second,
Who seconded that?
Mike did. Pick one.
Okay, one of the mics, okay. All right, any more discussion?
Will
Right,
you,
Dan?
after, I was gonna say, will you put this on the website then?
Yes.
Just to make sure it gets captured when they do the new site, if it's up there now.
Okay,
I think this would be, would you plan on reviewing this on the 5th? So I think this would be a good thing to bring to the select board to kind of outline the process as well and reinforce it.
so bring it to a select board meeting, you're saying?
Well, I think, did you say we're meeting on the 5th, March 5th?
Yeah, just bring it up at that public hearing,
Yeah,
kind of.
and just remind people,
Okay.
if we're talking about ideas, just, you know, we also have a process that people should follow to, and you can ask the select board members if we come up with ideas to fill out the application. Put it right back on us.
All right, anything else? All right, let's do the roll call vote. All those in favor, Mike Goddard,
Goddard, aye?
Mendelia, aye.
Kathy,
Schofield, aye.
Dan,
Dan, I.
Barry,
Ida roller eye.
Mazar, aye. Okay, great. And what I'd like to look at next time and send you all is the Community Preservation Committee general bylaw, just to look that over to see if there's any changes that we should make because they're reviewing the general bylaws right now. And then eventually look over a CPA plan, but I have not started that yet, so. And I don't have anything else unless anyone has some questions or comments.
And you'd mentioned a housing subcommittee, affordable housing
Mhm.
subcommittee being formed, just as a more of a heads up to everyone. I think the select board is going to be looking to revitalize all committees more formally going into FY26. So we're focused on AgCom and capital planning going for the remainder of the year, but that might be a good process to get that idea submitted. So as we look at all the committees and what's out there and how they should, get some more energy behind them, might be a good time to add a new one if we think that makes sense.
Okay, so send an email then, kind of from the committee?
Yeah, and I'll mention it to Jeremy to keep it on the radar.
Mhm.
When we start talking about it, because we're focused on what exists, and maybe if there's no need for an old one that doesn't have any life to it, maybe we introduce new ones. But it seems like the right time to bring it to the board if you want to do that.
Okay, great. I'll do that. I know we had talked about, using a lot of people that were on the housing production plan committee, and, obviously you want to open it up to everybody, but then if we don't get responses, we can look to those people also.
Yeah, I think there's a general desire to kind of focus a little more on planning more broadly, collectively with other committees, whether it's land use or things like
Mhm.
this. So I think there's some synergies there that probably can get some movement behind what you want to see get done.
Great. All right. Anything else or any topics that you think we should discuss at our next meeting?
Just, it was on the agenda, but there's no real updates for the record room. I think you just said update on it.
Yeah.
We're still
mean-
trying to get pricing. I've met with a couple HVAC contractors, but I don't think we've heard back about the flooring yet.
Mhm.
Was the field lighting, is that a CPC
Oh.
item is that moving along?
Yeah, so we have awarded a contract to a company. We are waiting on them to send us some submittals for our approval. And that's kind of where it stands. I think they're hoping to jump on construction. The last conversation I had with them is the supply parts were on order, or they were working with the vendor to get stuff ordered and potentially schedule a delivery. I think he said sometime in mid-February, which will be interesting with the snow, but I think they're
Now-
moving along.
Is this person
sound-
doing all the lighting? Because I know you wanted to combine the jobs.
Yeah, so we bid it out with like option A, option B. So it's the new lighting on the two fields and then replacing the wooden poles on the tennis and basketball courts with modern poles, LED fixtures. Since they're already there, they've already got the machinery.
And how much were the bids? Like,
Give me a second. I have to look up the email. I don't know off the top of my head.
okay,
We did come in over budget, and we were fortunate that the select board was able to give us some funds from ARPA to bridge the gap.
great. That was my question, is if you, used all the, funds that were allocated or, went over. So, okay.
Yeah, if you give me a second, I'll find the number if you
Okay.
really want it. Okay. The low bidder was 297,500. So we have 270. Then we have an additional 23,500 in committed in donations, which gets us to 293,500, which is 4,000 short. And then Jeremy was able to get $10,000 in ARPA to cover that gap. And I think the donations will go up. I think they were still holding events for youth baseball and softball.
Great. All right, anything else? I guess I would say, like, for any projects, in historic, recreation, open space, whatever, if there are any projects that we should be thinking about for the annual town meeting, we should talk about them and then, submit applications if somebody has a project, discuss it. But we're getting to that time where
Yeah.
So a question, maybe Kathy, from and Dan, from a historic standpoint, the windows on Town Hall, do we think that's something we're going to move forward, or do we kind of park that and revisit it at a later date?
My understanding is that funding's been approved for a consultant to come up with the plan. It just kind of stalled out. So I don't know where that is left off. I mean, it seems like there's just a ton of these projects. And I think we'd like to see that move forward. Maybe is the better answer. If there's
Okay.
appetite to help lead it.
Yeah. So Dan, when we get in our next capital planning meeting, we would just revisit that and kind of push it up in terms of think priority on that.
Yeah, we could bring it up there. I mean, I think last I heard we had an architect, assuming they're comfortable with him. I mean, I think Historic met with him and he seemed decent. If he's still interested, we should maybe have him give us a proposal to come up with a plan. I think that was the next step.
That's the only thing I can think of, and that aside from maybe fields from a capital standpoint, that would be CPC, possibly CPC funded. When I think of what's in queue, Dan, I don't really think of anything else beside that one.
No, I mean, the record room could have a phase 2 at some point, but I think we've got a lot of work to do. There's some smaller stuff I would like to explore, like display cases and stuff for town hall, perhaps moving the weights and measures, but it's just, there's no time right now and none of that's urgent.
Right.
But that's all little stuff, not, under 10,000. But in terms of major projects, I think the windows would be one. I don't know. Am I missing anything, Kathy?
No, I think that covers everything we've been hoping to get done or get some fire under these projects.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some other grants for the record room that we need to explore as well.
I think we should too.
Dylan had some ideas, but I haven't had time to follow up.
Have you looked at the one-stop portal, Dan, that just opened up at the state level?
I have not.
There might be a couple things around that might work for the records room.
Yeah, it sounds like that, like, depending on what we wanted to do, there might be plans to figure out adaptive reuse, especially if they're related to some form of like economic development. I think that's where Dylan was going.
There's a lot of technical assistance.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking to Jeremy about a couple things on that, so I can and I'll see Dylan tomorrow actually, if I'm gonna see what's on her mind.
Yeah,
when you say adaptive reuse, would that be for the town to use or for someone else to use, possibly? Anybody?
Anybody, I think, I think that was what Dylan said, technical assistance. So like figuring out a solution for water and sewer. That's going to be a huge part of it. ADA access that the historic grants won't pay for.
Would you consider the historic district our downtown district?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of focus. They have all these things labeled for downtown revitalization. I might be stretching the definition. I'm not sure.
I think the big thing is just somebody having help managing them. If Jeremy and Dylan can get involved, I think it's a lot to ask a volunteer committee to take on these major grant projects and oversee these projects.
You can use CPA funds for ADA access to historical buildings. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we had that all drawn up. The issue was the historic grant wouldn't pay for it, which is dumb. But we do at least have that part we have the plans for. Because remember we were talking like the bathroom and all that. I remember talking with this committee about it. But
it'd be great if the building could be used and restored. That would be the best.
Does anybody know if there is any working plan for the upstairs of the library? The old library?
I don't know, but
yeah, that's another venue that we should explore. And actually, maybe if that's part of the downtown, maybe there's grants available there to do something up there.
Yeah, I think one of the one nice to have, don't have to have, but it's unfortunate that we don't, is to have signage for the districts, to identify the areas are, of historic value or interest. I mean, a lot of towns have them. We just don't. And I think it, you know, it's value added in a community to identify that, you know, you're investing in, you know, the historic character of your community.
Yeah, I mean, I think signage is a good idea. CPA funds can't be used on signage, but
Right.
mhm.
Right. Maybe one of those other grants might allow us to, you know, at least get started on signage. And even like the old buildings and municipal buildings, it would be nice to have additional signage, you know, on those buildings.
I had a question that's not really that related, but we did spend some CPA funds for ADA access to the library and town hall when we did the town hall campus. Is there a flag up at the town hall now? Because I think
So that-
David Kersey was going to do that, but I don't. Last time I looked, there wasn't one.
Yeah, I had sent him an email. I get a follow up in person so that the flagpole, they're not using the new flagpole yet. They're still using the one in the building. We need to figure out a plan to put a light on it. The rope snapped whenever we had all that wind. The rope broke, but so
On
I
the new
emailed-
pole?
on the old pole.
Okay.
So I emailed the chief and sent a bunch of stuff, but I never really heard back. But then they somehow fixed it, so they're still using it. I'll try and ask him again. Unfortunately, I think that old pole in the building needs to come down, which is probably not within the purview of this committee, but
Mhm.
yet another project we need to explore.
Yeah, well, there's a nice
Um,
flagpole there now that should be used, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean,
And I think
I
you actually see it more on the flagpole, like on top of the building, you don't even see it. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think it falls into the category of miscellaneous projects that nobody's really in charge of or gets paid to deal with. So it's just kind
Well, I
of
mean, I
limbo.
think it falls under facilities, which we don't have yet.
Right. Yeah.
But I would float it by Jeremy, put it on his list too. To me, I mean, that's I don't think anything that's not owned specifically by a department head should probably be owned by Jeremy to some extent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll find that email I sent.
All right. Anything else? I think we can have a short meeting tonight.
No, John.
Second,
Who seconded that?
One of the mics.
Mike Mendeley, okay. Um, all right, let's do a roll call vote. Michael Goddard,
Got it, I.
Mendeley,
Kath-
aye.
Kathy,
Schofield, I.
Dan,
Dan,
Barry,
Ida Roller eye. Good night.
Mazer, aye. Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Good night.
See you in
Everyone.
March.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone.